We are streaming live in the Streamline Business Strategies group. So if you are popping on here, watching in the group, my apologies. We're a little bit late coming on, entirely my fault. Lost my mind a little bit today, but we're here and that's what counts. And Janna is here and I'm so excited about this conversation. So if you are watching the live, come on in, say hello, happy Wednesday, an emoji that represents how you're feeling right now, whatever you want to put in there, say hi, let us know you're here, and put in replay if you're joining us later. Now, if you are watching on YouTube or listening on the Small Biz 101 podcast, hello, and thank you for being here. And if you like what you hear, please hit the subscribe button. So I do these interviews once or twice a month now to support small business owners by providing guest experts in areas needed by entrepreneurs, right? We've done legal issues, we've done mindset support just recently. We'll be talking about the importance of utilizing an online business manager in the next interview. And I also love to showcase successful business owners and get an idea of what's the secret sauce behind their success. And we have one of those fabulous, successful business owners with me today, Janna Willoughby-Lohr, whose name just has such a beautiful ring to it. Janna is an artist, musician, and entrepreneur from Buffalo, New York. Her company, Papercraft Miracles, specializes in handcrafted paper art that brings meaning to people's lives. She was awarded a $25,000 Ignite Buffalo grant in 2018 and was named 40 under 40 from Stationery Trends Magazine in 2019. And Janna, didn't I just see that you just won something else pretty special too last week?
I did. I was named Women in Manufacturing for 2023 from Business First.
Congratulations. That is a huge accomplishment. I'm thrilled that you've been so successful this way. And it's funny, as we popped on the call, you were talking about doing seed bombs. And one thing from your bio that I find so interesting, and I remember when this was going on in 2021, your team created 500,000 seed bombs for Lowe's Spring Garden giveaway event. So we've got to learn more about those seed bombs and what Janna's up to now. Janna is also the host of Reach the Stars podcast, which features inspiring stories of persistence, passion, and purpose. Janna leads the membership committee for NAWBO's Buffalo Niagara Chapter and is founding member of their diversity and inclusion task force. So Janna is a mom to 3 little kiddos now and likes bright colors, giggling, and things that are small. Welcome. It's so good to have you here.
Thank you for having me. I'm all about it. I'm actually currently not the membership chair of NAWBO. I relinquished my chair duties when I was pregnant with my baby because I was not being a good chair. I had no headspace for it, but I did chair the membership committee for like 4 years.
Oh my gosh, you have a lot going on. How old are your kids now?
8, 5.5, and 1.
Okay, folks, are you listening to this? Wait until you hear about Janna's business. And she's doing this with 3 youngsters under her roof. So let's just start out. Would you share about Papercraft Miracles and the work that you do? Just tell us more about the business.
Sure. So Papercraft Miracles is an eco-friendly handmade paper art company. We make magical things out of paper that make people happy. And what does that mean? We create handmade papers and stationery for invitations and product packaging and all different kinds of other purposes. We make a lot of paper flowers that look so real you have to look twice and then go back and touch them. We do a lot of hand-bound books and book repair services. We make journals and photo albums and scrapbooks and pop-up books and stuff like that. And then we also make a lot of plantable seed bombs that are made with recycled paper and have seeds embedded right in them, like this one, if you're watching the video and you can see it. And they grow when you plant them in the ground. And we make them in all different colors and shapes and sizes with custom packaging, custom logos. We do a lot of corporate orders, and we really pride ourselves on being a one-stop shop kind of experience where people can come to one place, and from invitations to flowers and favors to guest books, we got you covered. We can do everything.
Yeah, yeah. And you had mentioned you were talking about books right before we started. You're restoring a beautiful book back there, right? What is
Yes, you
that?
can kind of see it behind me on this table back there. I have a client who has had a photo album from the 1800s that was her family's. And while I don't do like official restoration, you know, like archival type of restoration, I'm not trained to do that because people who are trained to do that are unbelievably skilled. I am repairing it so that it can still be used as a photo album. So I'm putting it back together because the covers had fallen off.
Oh, that is so cool. And that's going to be so special for them. And it really shows the variety that you do. One thing that I also forgot to mention is I saw you on a reality show. Was it last year? And you should have won. Your work was unbelievable. And people can still watch it, can't they?
Yes, yes. So I was picked to be on the first season ever of Meet Your Maker Showdown on Discovery Plus. That's hosted by Chrissy Metz, and the judges were Leanne Rhymes and some other arts professionals who are amazing. And it was very exciting to go do that. And yeah, you can still watch it if you have Discovery Plus and you go find Meet Your Maker Showdown. And I think it's episode 3, but you'll see me when you click on my face is like the still frame for the episode. So
Oh, that was so good. So, so good.
you're not the first person to say I got robbed, but you know.
Yeah, people watch it and then chime in here. I think you'll agree with us. And I'm not just saying that because Janna is here. Her work is amazing. You made paper on the show live out of flowers and other things. I don't remember what it was, but it was super impressive.
It was fun. It was
Yeah.
fun. I mean, I probably could have done a type of project that was simpler, but also really impressive. But people would go on a show and their sole focus was like, how can I win this money? How can I win this money? How can I win this money? And making art has never been about how can I win this money for me, like I love to make art. It's great if I make money. I want to be able to support myself and support my family and things like that. But for me, I was like, look at all this amazing studio that I'm in. And I had brought all my own supplies and stuff. And I was like, I want to challenge myself to see like, can I actually make paper that's wet live on, not really live, but like, can I make it right in this timed challenge and make paper and be able to use it in my finished product that within 5 hours from now is going to need to be displayed. And so I actually I was sitting there for the last 25 minutes with a hair dryer drying all the paper and like trying to press all the water out of it. It was fun.
Oh my gosh. Oh, well, and now you have plenty of time to do that. It's not quite as stressful. But all right, so you've been an artist for quite some time, it sounds like. How did you transform that the artistic work that you did into your own business?
It's been a really long journey, but when I first went away to college, I initially thought I was gonna be a poet. And I went to school thinking I was going to do that. And I set foot on the college campus at Warren Wilson College outside Asheville in North Carolina. And there was just this amazing creative vibe there. And I started looking through the course catalog to sign up for the classes I wanted to take as a freshman. And I saw that they had paper making and bookbinding classes. And I didn't even know you could take a class in that at the time, let alone that I could do that at the school I happened to go to.
Yeah.
So I ended up signing up for a whole bunch of different really kind of wild art classes and learned how to bind books and learn how to make paper. And as soon as I put my arms in that vat of paper or the paper pulp, like up to my elbows, I was like, oh, this is my jam. Like, I don't know, I must have been a paper maker in a past life or something. We communicate. me and paper pulp, I just get it. And at the end of my freshman year, I went to meet with my college advisor and I said, hey, these are all the classes I took. So what major am I working towards? He goes, those are all electives, so nothing. And I was away at school on like a complete scholarship, need-based and merit-based. And I was like, I can't have wasted an entire year. Like I can't, it's not happening. This is a long time ago, like 20 years ago. And I said to him, like, shit, man, what am I supposed to do? And he was really amazing. And he said, what do you want to do? And I said, I want to be an artist. I don't want to be broke. How do I do that? And he said, you should do that as your major. And I looked at him like he was totally insane. Like, what do you mean? That's not a major. I've looked at the art major. It has 1-2 credit class senior year about, business for artists. And I was like, there's no way that you're going to be able to learn enough in that 2 credit class to be able to support yourself as an artist. I know that, and I haven't even taken any of those classes. And so I said to him, like, what are you talking about? There is no major for that. And he said, we have a major called integrative studies. You know what you want to do already. Make up your own major and do that. And so I did. And it was not an easy thing to do, to make up your own major. I had to pick every class I wanted to take for all 4 years and then figure out, like, justify why I couldn't just double major in business and art. And I justified that by mainly saying that, selling art is not like selling any other product. And it's the type of product that technically nobody needs it, but everybody needs it. And they don't know they need it until they know it exists. And it's also the kind of thing that, like, buy one, get one deals and stuff like that. It doesn't work for art. It doesn't work for any mission-driven business in general, because the clients are not looking for it because they want a deal. They're looking for it because it fills a space for them. And so I was like, I want to be able to learn about the business of art. And since my main type of art was doing paper, typically paper art is not, capital A in the gallery kind of art. I want people to be able to touch the art, and you go to the gallery and they're like, don't touch the art. Yeah. And I didn't want to really pursue art as, the kind of artist that would make art that's only on display in a gallery, because, you could make 2,000 pieces of art and put them in galleries all across the country, and you might sell 1 or 2 a year. Maybe you're not making a living like that. I mean, there's so few artists that are really making a good living and taking care of themselves and taking care of their family by doing that. Because also the gallery is taking 40%. Nothing against galleries, they're working hard to do that, but you have to have the same price across all of your venues. So if you are selling the same piece of art on your website, you get 40% more if you sell it yourself than if you sell it in a gallery, because they take it. Mm-hmm. They take their commission. So I was like, I want to figure out how to take this kind of art that I want to do and bring it out into the world in a way that supports me, supports my family, ideally, and then supports other artists who help me make stuff. So I made it my own major, long story short, doing entrepreneurial creative business arts, integrating the two together. And for me, I think the glue to being able to sell art the way that I sell it is the social work component that I put into my major. Because learning to sell art to people is learning to listen to people and learning to figure out what people need, and helping people to vocalize what they need, and hearing the little bits of their stories and taking those things and building them into something that says the things that they don't know how to say. And so I did that as my major. I graduated in 2004. I had a really crappy website that you couldn't buy anything on because it was 2004. And I had a print catalog and some business cards and a business plan that I still have on my shelf over there. And it even had the name Papercraft Miracles. And the reason I named it that is my junior year of school, 3 weeks into the school year, I lost my mom. And 4 months later, on what would have been her next birthday, my dorm burnt to the ground with all of my stuff in it while I was in it. Oh. Toast. Like every single journal I'd written in for my entire life, gone.
Oh, that must have been heartbreaking.
All of my artwork, everything my mom had given me in the last 5 years of her life, on her birthday, toast.
Oh.
And it was Saturday, Saturday night, Sunday morning when it burned, and the next semester started on Monday. And they're like, have fun, go to class. You have no home, go to class. You're living in a motel with 6 other people in the 2-room suite.
What did you do?
Well, the first day I looked around and I said, where's the cancer in the bus that's coming to hit me because I'm waiting?
Yeah.
And then the second day I used my voucher from the Red Cross to go buy some new stuff. Make sure I had a toothbrush. And I went to class. and I started making all of these artist books, which is that's my personal favorite like art genre, is artist books, where the form and the design, the illustrations, the material, the words, everything works together to create one bigger concept or a bigger idea. And the experience of the viewer opening it and hearing it and seeing it and touching it and being part of the experience, that's what it's all about. So I started making all of these artist books about trauma and grief and my outlook on life and my outlook on death, and thinking about, you know, if I had quit school and went home instead of continuing to go to school when it seemed really difficult, I was like, my mom would be so pissed if I gave up my dream to go home and wallow.
Oh,
She would never want me to do that.
yeah.
She knew that me getting to go away to school and to create my own dream of being an artist that makes money was so magical. And I was like, she would never want me to give that up and go struggle even harder. So I stayed at school and I started making all this art about my outlook on life. And then I started sharing it with other people, teachers and my friends at school and stuff like that. And I would share these books with people and they would cry. And I had so many people say to me after having this experience of this kind of show and tell of these books, they were like, I'm not the same person I was 10 minutes ago. Like, I was sort of intentionally crafting these moments for people, because, you know, everybody has those moments that they have a conversation or they have a single experience and their whole life is different after that. And I didn't realize when I was making this art that was helping me heal, that sharing it with other people was helping them heal and helping them to confront things about life that they had maybe thought about but didn't realize they were dealing with. And I immediately was like, you know what? I don't care whatever I do for the rest of my life. I'm going to do that every day. I want to intentionally craft those moments that give people the opportunity to have those conversations that change their life forever.
Oh, that's beautiful. Now I didn't think about this because I didn't realize that you were going to talk about this, but do you happen to have one of those books handy that you could show?
Yes.
What that might look like? I'm just so curious.
Okay, hold on. They live next to my desk, most of my favorites.
Okay, because when you said artist book, my mind immediately went to a book that other artists could use, but this is your art. This is your book.
Yeah, they're like art books. So I have a little Ziploc baggie of some of my favorite little ones. Oh, this one looks really cool. So these are actually all books that I made while I was in college in 2002 and 2003. So this book is called Oh My Mama Lovely, and it is a book structure that I invented called a quad lotus book. And it opens like this, and it has little poems inside of it, but then it also flips over and it opens like this on the other side. And so it reads like this. It says, oh, my mama lovely, we've grown close as we've grown older. Oh, my mama lovely, I still feel you bloom. Oh, yes, my daughter lovely, our roots have spread apart as we have grown together. Oh, yes, my daughter lovely, I still hold you strong. And then the other side says, oh, my mama lovely, you held me in your palm before I grew older. Oh, my mama lovely, now I hold you in mine.
Oh,
Oh, yes, my daughter lovely, I've grown through your soul as you've grown without me. Oh, yes, my daughter lovely, I know you still feel me bloom. And I love that it just like, it opens and it opens and it opens and it opens. And, you know, every time you think about life or you think about death or you think about that experience, like there's always an opportunity to like flip it over and look up, and it'll open in a different way, and then turn it over again and it'll open in a different way. And it goes and it lives inside this little kimono. It's like a little envelope that I made for it, but it's like a little kimono that has seen better days. But
oh, Janna, that is so gorgeous. And because if anybody's listening to the podcast, clearly, I'm so glad you read through that. It was so beautiful. Is there a link maybe that we can put in the notes so people could look at a picture of these if they're watching?
Sure,
if they're listening to the podcast?
I have a page on my website in my media. I think it's in the media tab or the about tab. I'll find the link to it. But I have a whole page of the different types of, gallery type work that I do. That's not regular commercial custom work that I make for other people. Art that I make for myself and make to share out with the world.
Yeah.
There's some links to that book, and some other books that are like accordion books, and
Those are
this one's about a dream
stunning.
that my mom had about me before I was born. And I designed it so that it's like a dream. As soon as you let go and you try to look at it, it closes itself. So you have to really try to like pin it open, and you can only look at a little bit of it at a time, like a dream.
Oh my God, those
Try to
are
think about it. It's snapshot.
absolutely beautiful. And I just want to note, Kathy and Laura are two of the people who are watching who have commented, and Laura just mentioned so touching. She also mentioned that I had the wrong time on the Facebook page for this group, which is for this interview, which is just par for the course for me today. So my apologies, but I'll make sure the recording is, the live will be there so people can watch it if they come in at 3. I'll add some notes, and if there are some questions, I'll be sure to pass them along to Janna so they can be responded to. It's just, I'm just having one of those time days. So, but I'm just glad that we're
Story
here.
of my life.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Well, so that was so beautiful. And I don't want to interrupt the story because you were talking about, how you got into this work. And I think you had finished that, but is there more that you wanted to add to that?
Sure. So like the main reason that I called it Papercraft Miracles is because making this work and sharing it with people like I just did and affecting change in people is the miracle that saved me when I literally had nothing. And so I keep that as my intention and my goal with everything that I do every day. And after graduating school, I came back to Buffalo. Long story short, I had to work a day job. My brother and I had inherited a house here at 20 and 23 years old that was falling apart. She didn't have a will. It was a lot of struggle. I went through a lot of struggle after graduating from school. And in 2004, there was really not a lot happening in Buffalo. Buffalo was not experiencing this crazy rise that it is now.
Yeah.
But it always had this amazing, vibrant arts community. And so I got a day job at a gas station, and I worked there for 5 years and learned how to manage somebody else's business. And all the while I was going out and playing music shows at night and going to open mics around town and getting booked on shows and doing poetry open mics and poetry slams and touring around the area and around the country doing poetry slams. I did that for a long time. And all the while I was still making things for people as gifts, and I had a little art desk in the corner of my house and was just making things when I had time to make things and doing some craft shows and stuff like that. And in 2013, I actually made it official and started running it like a business, keeping track of my numbers and whatnot, and collecting sales tax and doing those official business owner things. And 2 years later, I had my first son, and after my maternity leave, which was all too short and not making nearly enough money, my job told me, where I had been working editing photos for another 5 years, they said, you have to either come back to the office full time or figure something else out. You can't work from home. And I said, well, you guys don't pay me enough to cover healthcare and daycare, and I'm not going to come work for you and come home with negative dollars and pay someone else to raise my kid. If I'm going to spend time away from my kid and pay for childcare, I'm going to do the things that I love and not the things that you love. So I quit my job, which was terrifying. As my husband said, it just makes sense. Just stay home and do your book thing. Because I was not making paper at the time. I didn't have the equipment to do so. And I ended up, as soon as I quit my job, I was like, oh my God, I actually have time and effort and energy to spend doing what I really want to do with this business, and like being able to take it to this kind of wild, crazy, one-of-a-kind business that could take over the world. And I rebranded the company. I built a new website where you could actually buy things finally, and got new business cards, developed a whole bunch of new products, and started building up my social media because I was at home with a baby. And I was like, well, I can't be going out to, schmooze every single night because I have an 8-month-old baby who's nursing, and I have to be here. And I just did everything I could to grow my business. And I started utilizing every single free service that I could. I went over to the Small Business Development Center, and then I joined NAWBO, the National Association of Women Business Owners, and started growing my business that way. And, just a little bit at a time, And within a couple months of quitting my job, I found someone who was selling used paper making equipment on Instagram in the middle of the night while I was up nursing my baby, searching hashtag papermaking to see what everyone else was doing. And I ended up buying that equipment for $5,000, and my husband went to Indiana and picked it up and drove it back here in a truck and installed it all in the basement. And I said, take this baby, I'm going to make paper. And I started making lots of different paper and did lots of craft shows, and people were like, what? I don't even know what to do with this paper, but it's cool and I want it. So people started buying like individual sheets of paper from me at craft shows and, journals and all these other things that I had been making. And every new product that I've started making has come because I had a client call me up and say, I'm trying to find this thing. Do you make that? So I started making paper flowers because somebody said, I want to buy paper flowers locally and no one is making them. Do you make those? And I was like, yeah, totally. I'd never made them before. And I learned how to make them, and I started making paper flowers. So now it's like a huge segment of my business. And I had a friend see a tutorial on Pinterest for making seed bombs in a muffin tin. And she's like, hey, I bet you could make these, but make them cooler than that. And so I started making seed bombs. I'm like, I could totally make those way cooler than that. And so now we really kind of corner the market on wild, crazy seed bombs. And after winning the Ignite grant, it allowed me to hire my first employee, because I was at the time was home with 2 kids, little kids, with no paid childcare. And I was like, if I am the one person who also makes everything, there's no way that I'm ever gonna have time to work on this business and not just in this business. So I hired some people and taught them how to make things. And long story short, now I'm on my way to take over the world.
Oh my gosh, you are, and you have a seed bomb handy as well too.
I do. I have a couple of them here on my desk. I've got some.
One of them looks like a globe, a world.
Yes,
And
I have these.
oh my God.
We made these for Earth Day that look like little Earths. And then I made some of these as a sample for a basketball team. They look like little basketballs.
How cool.
But most of the ones that we do are actually in different shapes. So we make like heart shapes, and we make like little apples for teachers, for teacher gifts that are like, thanks for helping me grow. We make little people shapes for saying like, thanks for being part of our team. And all sorts of stuff. So if somebody has like a crazy logo and they want to have their logo and their branding and their colors on it, we've made fleur-de-lis shapes for the Boy Scouts. We make buffaloes with hearts in the middle of them, because obviously buffalo. Yeah, every day we're like, hey, what new crazy shape can we do? We do little baby bottle stuff and like the little rocking horses for baby showers and
how fabulous.
Whatever fun shapes we can come up with. So
oh my gosh, how fabulous. And a couple people just commented in, Laura, you sure did a lot of hard work with those craft shows and more. And Patricia Herberger, who you know, right, from NAWBO, said her paper flowers are so beautiful and realistic. I agree. They are incredible. If I didn't know that you made paper, I would think they were gorgeous, real flowers. They're just stunning.
Yeah, I did a presentation yesterday, and I had a big vase of them in front of me. And when I got to the part of the presentation where I said, we make paper flowers like these, everyone in the room was like, they had no idea that they weren't real or silk until I said that we'd made them.
Yeah.
We're like,
oh
wait.
My God. So incredible.
So
many nuggets of gold too, that you've mentioned as you've been sharing the story that apply to any business owner, right? Like early on, you said, make sure that you listen to them. Listen to what they need, listen to what they're looking for. And look at you, you're just being so nimble and creative with all of these new things that people are bringing up for you, and you're making them. The resilience that you've shown. I mean, I don't think what you went through was extraordinary, both with the loss of your mother and then, just a few months later with everything burning to the ground. But you clearly have shown so much resilience in your life. And, everybody has something in their lives that they go through. And when you're a business owner, to keep it going, you also have to show that resilience, and even in times of such struggle. So really appreciate you sharing that.
Thank
Um,
you. And I
yeah,
definitely, I know what it's like to have nothing. And like when I went through losing all my stuff in the fire, it's something that I had worried about my whole life, because my mom was a hoarder and also a chain smoker. And so growing up, I mean, dying in a fire was like a thing that was on my mind as a kid every single day. So waking up to being inside of a building that's on fire and actually losing all of my stuff was one of those things that I had really, been afraid of. And I remember thinking that my mom was going to be 55 on that day, and 5 was my lucky number. And I was like, well, that means that there's 2 lucky things happening today, and I got to figure out what they are. And the first one was very obvious. Me and everyone else that was in that building got out alive. Like, that's hands down, so obvious. But the other one, I was like, well, what's the other lucky thing? What other thing am I supposed to learn from this? Like, what is this supposed to be teaching me? How can I take something that's happening right now and use it, and use it to help myself and to help other people? And I'm like, probably the 3rd day after everything burnt up, it was just like, it clicked that, it was my mom sending me a message, that something she never learned in her whole entire life, that your stuff doesn't matter. You don't need any of it, not one thing. Even those things you're like, oh, that's so special, it's so sentimental, it's so amazing, I need that. You don't. You really don't. Like, at the end of the day, you need 5 things to survive. You need food, you need water, you need shelter, you need someone that loves you, and something that drives you. And that's it. Everything else is extra. And being 20 years old and knowing firsthand that it's not about, like, success in your life is not about all the things you collect and the coolest house and the coolest car and this and that and all these things that cost insane amounts of money to get. And I was like, no, like they say in that quote, who I can't remember who it's by, it's like, it's not about, people don't remember what you sold to them or whatever. They remember how you made them feel. And
yes.
the more you can affect change in people, the more that you can be memorable and help other people and teach other people a way to find peace and find joy in the life that they have, the better the world's going to be. I mean, you think about how many people are out there who, go to work every day and hate their jobs, and they're doing it because they think they're supposed to have this big house in the country, or they're supposed to have this cool car, or they're supposed to do all this stuff. And, the number one thing that we're supposed to do in this world is take care of each other.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so powerful. And I think you've already answered this, but I feel like maybe there's a little bit more to it, or maybe it's changed, in fact, over time as well. When you think about what is the big why behind the business that you've established and grown? Is it what you've just described, or is there something else?
It's definitely rooted in that. I mean, my main why for doing what I do is I want to foster connection with people. I want to help people learn how to communicate with themselves and with each other. And we live in this very intense digital age where everything is on a screen and everything is impersonal. And granted, yes, we're on a screen right now. So is there purpose for screen? Is there purpose for social media? Is there purpose for this? Is it amazing? Would I never have been able to grow my business the way I have without it? 100%. But there is such a difference in getting a handwritten letter in the mail and getting an email. Like, they're just not the same.
Absolutely.
And, I mean, physically, energetically, it's not the same. There's really few ways for someone to convey their physical energy across a digital platform. It's possible, but it's difficult. And because so much of life has become digital, and people are not having face-to-face conversations. People are texting all the time and emailing all the time. And when someone calls them on the phone, they go, ew, gross, don't call me, right? Like,
right.
That is the thing. People don't want to do that. And people have forgotten how to have deep, meaningful conversations. They don't know how to do that. And kids are growing up not knowing how to do that. And I knew when I was 20 years old, with the initial idea of starting this company, everyone was on LiveJournal at the time, which of course is like dead as hell. But I had so many people say to me, like, why do you want to make journals? Why do you want to make notebooks? No one's ever going to write in a book ever again. You know, they're all going to be on LiveJournal. You know, that's the future. And then when Evites came out, people were like, why are you going to make wedding invitations? No one's ever going to send wedding invitations again. It's all going to be Evites. And, you know, it was the new flashy thing for a little while. But the more that people are sending Evites and are, you know, writing in a LiveJournal type of thing, or, you know, keeping track of their journal in a digital way, people are really missing out on the physical, tangible aspects of life. And there's so, you know, people forget that we have 5 senses. Like, you can see things, you can hear things, but when everything is digital, you're not touching anything. You know, you can only get so much tactile aspect from this, right?
And you're preaching to the choir here as a person who journals every single day.
I'm like, here's my book. Like,
Yeah.
I made it and I write it every week. But when you write something down with a pen or a pencil onto a piece of paper, it stays in your brain in a way that it never will if you put it on a computer. And it's scientifically proven that that's the case. So, you know, as someone with ADHD, if I only rely on a digital calendar, I'll never remember all the to-do stuff I'm supposed to do. But when I set up my planner for the week on my physical notebook with my pen and my ruler, and I say, here's the people I need to contact, here's the tasks I need to accomplish, these are the projects I'm working on, and this is what's coming next week. And I can write all my appointments every single day, and I can look at the week as a whole. Then I can say, all right, I am in a good headspace to connect with all these people. So I'm gonna email all those people and call all those people and do that right away. Done. But if I just look at my phone and see my calendar in my phone, or look on my Google Calendar on my screen, I'm not going to see the big picture like that. I'm just going to be like, oh, that's a lot of appointments, you know, and like forget what I'm supposed to do and look at my calendar 100 times a day. So very long story short, my why for doing this is to teach people how to connect, to help people say those things they're afraid to say or that they don't know how to say. And so often a lot of what we do as far as our custom work is somebody comes to us and they say, I'm looking to celebrate this person in some way, or I'm looking to, you know, grieve someone who I've lost, or I'm looking to connect with someone that I, you know, have been missing for a long time, or something like that. And I say, tell me all about that person. You know, what's special about your relationship? Do you have any weird inside jokes? Like, if they see something that has this on it, they're going to know it's from you. And I get all those little details, and then I build something that helps them say those things. And every single time people receive that gift, they have that conversation. And then they keep it in their house, and then somebody else comes over to the house and they're like, oh, that's really cool. Where'd you get that? And then they have a conversation. And then the person who was at that house goes somewhere else and they're like, hey, you'll never guess what I saw today. And they have that conversation, and it grows and it grows and it grows and it grows. And so, like, you know, that's the way that I intentionally craft those moments for people. And you never know how far it goes. You never know.
That is, oh my gosh, that is so beautiful and creative. And you got me thinking. One of my closest friends turned 60 this year, and we've been friends for 40 something years. I need to contact you to get something like that made up. That's just so touching, and it absolutely fulfills that why.
Yeah.
So here you are, you had this, you know, this dream. You were an artist, musician, you did all of these beautiful things, and in college couldn't quite see how you could make it into a business. And now here you are with a thriving business. Are there a couple of things that maybe you attribute that success to?
Have a really good support system. I don't want to be that woman that's like, I couldn't do it without my husband, but like, I honestly couldn't be doing what I'm doing right now if my husband wasn't the type of partner that he is. Mm-hmm. We bought this building specifically because it had a place for me to make paper years before I ever had paper making equipment, because he was like, that's something that's a non-negotiable for you, so it's a non-negotiable for me. And in the same way, like, he's like, I need a place where I can have a carpentry shop and where we can play music together and stuff like that. So we specifically like bought this building because we could do what we're doing with it right now. And so, make sure that you surround yourself with people who support your dreams, who don't say that's fucking crazy, don't do that.
Yeah.
I mean, unless it's like jumping off a bridge, which is kind of crazy, don't do that. But in general, like if you have that thing that keeps you up at night, that thing that you keep saying, someday I want to do that. Someday is going to be the right time for me to do that. Someday is right now, y'all. Life is short. It is short. My mom died when she was 54 years old. I'm 41. So
hell yeah. Oh,
at
my
20
God.
years old, I was like, you never know. I could have died in a fire last night.
Yeah.
But I didn't. And if I don't choose to do the thing that I love in some capacity, does it mean like up and quit your job when you have a bunch of kids and a mortgage payment? Maybe not, plan properly, but find a way to do the thing that keeps you up at night in some capacity. It also means just because it's something that you love doesn't necessarily mean it's something that you should try to monetize, because some people really love to make pottery and they're like, oh, I want to make pottery and sell it. And then they realize that it's exhausting and drooling and they're making like no money per hour and it's not worth it. And they wish they just made pottery because they love it and give it to the people that they love. And they don't need to necessarily make a business out of that. But making things with your hands, sharing your skills and talents with other people, if you're a performer, go perform, go to the karaoke night, go to the open mic and do it, because clapping makes you feel awesome. It's great. That kind of thing. I'm always a huge proponent of do it now. Don't wait to do the things that you love, because you never know when today's your last day. Nobody knows that.
Oh, so true. So true.
But yeah, what other advice? Ask for help. For those, nobody who is successful did it by themselves. You're going to get in the business owner community, especially if you are, not to be kind of judgy, but especially if you are networking amongst a bunch of dudes, you're going to get that self-made man crowd, right? I'm a self-made man. Nobody helped me do it. I did it all by myself. I'm like, no, you didn't. No, you didn't. You had someone else who was doing your laundry. You had someone who was watching your kids. You had someone who was taking care of your home. You had someone who was sharing your post. You had someone who trusted you enough to give you a recommendation so you could get a loan from a bank. You did not do that by yourself. And nobody knows everything. And there are millions of people out there who have done what you're doing already, who have made mistakes that you are yet to make. And there is so much advice that you can get from other people. Like, don't necessarily take all the advice that people give you, because one of the first networking events that I went to after quitting my job, after I'd already been making art and making money at doing it for almost 15 years, I went to an event and there was the guy there. And I gave him my card and told him what I do. And he goes, you make everything by hand. You're never going to make money doing that. There's no way you could ever be profitable doing that.
Oh.
And I was like, oh, well, good to know that I've been profitable for, 15 years. Why don't you just bite me? Mansplain at me some more, dude.
Yeah.
So like, you're going to have naysayers, right? There's always going to be 10 people who say that's not possible when you think it is. And don't listen to them. Make it possible.
Absolutely. Oh my God. Best nuggets of wisdom. And Patricia just came on here and she said, ask her about how she got orders for her flowers from some famous people. I hear it sounds like there's a story in this.
Well, we've made a couple of different batches of flowers for some famous people. We during 2020, I got a call from a person at Twitter, like pre the downfall of Twitter. So like when Twitter was still cool, they called and said, we're looking to have some paper flowers bouquets made for our VIP clients. And we need them within 2 weeks. We need like a bunch of these bouquets in 2 weeks. Is that something you can do? And I'm like, yeah, sure. I'll call all my friends. Let's do it. Let's make it happen. I'm a huge fan of saying yes to things that seem crazy and then figuring out how to do them. So I ended up having to sign a whole bunch of NDAs. So I'm not allowed to tell you who we made them for, but people you have most certainly heard of. And we made all these bouquets. We cut over 5,000 petals by hand in 5 days with a team of 4 people.
Oh my gosh, how many
There
blisters were on
literally,
those hands?
there were so many paper scraps on the floor that the chairs wouldn't roll
Oh my god.
when we were done. Like we didn't even bother trying to sweep the floor because we were so just cut, shape, you know. And we made them all, and we boxed them all up and wrapped them all beautifully, customized via Twitter with like specialized customized note cards to each person. And then we shipped them to famous people all over the world.
Oh god, what a great story.
Yeah, it was crazy. And in 2020, I think it was 2020. Yeah, 2020. I connected with an actor on Instagram who had been doing sort of like a podcast type show from their bedroom. And I've been watching this TV show that they were on as part of my brain vacation. I like to watch like garbagey schlock, drama, comedy, fun stuff, to go somewhere else for a little while. So I was watching this show and I was like, man, I really love this actor. This person's great. And started following him on Instagram. And they were doing this show where they were just inviting random followers to come on and be interviewed about their experience during COVID and, you know, what it was like where they were. And I had a weird dream the one night that I was on the show because I'd been watching it every day while I was in my studio by myself because everything was shut down and I didn't have any staff here. And I didn't want to feel alone working in my studio all day. So I was like, today's the day I'm going to be on the show. So when they said, you know, push the button to request to be in our live, I pushed the button and I was like, I want to be on this show. And there was, I don't know how many people pushed the button, but there was a lot of people. I mean, hundreds of people were watching this show every day. And they picked me to be on the show. And they said, you know, tell us about yourself or whatever. And so I, you know, got to do my little spiel and I was in my office. So I walked around with my phone. It was like showing all my stuff. And they said, what else do you do? And I said, I love to perform poetry. And they said, do you want to do a poem? And I was like, I would love to do that. So I performed a poem and they were like, that was fucking awesome. I did not think that was going to happen like that. And, you know, most people, when they say they're going to perform a poem, you kind of have this idea in your head of, you know, here's my poem, I'm going to read it. And, you know, I don't do that. It's an
shocker.
It's an experience. I love performing. It's like that's my non-negotiable self-care thing is performing for people. And so after that, they, you know, I said, you know, this is great. You know, thanks so much for having me on your show. And then afterwards, they sent me a message and were like, this is super cool. You know, I'm glad you could be on the show. And I said, thank you for doing that. And they shared it and tagged my business and I got a bunch of orders from it, which was also great during COVID. So then I said, I'd love to send you like a thank you gift and some, you know, some Papercraft Miracles swag. You know, do you have an agent or someone that I could send this stuff to? And they're like, here's my address, and gave me their home address where they were staying during COVID. And so I made a whole bunch of really fun stuff and a bunch of sunflowers and things like that and sent it out to them for their birthday. And they ended up doing another video when they got the box and like unboxed all the stuff and were like, this is the sweetest thing ever. And like 6 months later, they ended up making, they were decorating their Christmas tree and they put all the flowers that I had made them into their tree.
Oh my God, how special. And you know, it meant the world to them to share it like that. Oh my gosh.
And I continued to follow them and their partner, and they just had a baby. So I like, every couple of days, I'm like, look at your sweet baby. This is so cute. And they're like, thanks so much. And, you know.
Oh, thank you for sharing that. And that just shows too, the relationships that develop right from this business, the people you've gotten to know and who have gotten to know you and the impact that you're having on them personally and professionally.
Yeah, you never know. I mean, some people are like, oh my God, it's famous people. And I'm like, they're just people who had a dream and got lucky and they worked really hard and they continue to work really hard. And I remember being a little kid and, you know, have this idea in your head of like a superstar, a rock star, a famous person, a movie star, right? And I kept thinking like, I would like to have that kind of notoriety. Like I would like to be famous, but I don't want to be like stalked at the grocery store kind of famous. Like I don't want to be like, stalked by paparazzi where you can't go anywhere without having your whole life potentially for sale like that. But I want people to be like, I knew her, I heard of her. She taught me something and I want to be known. in some way. So I try to do something every single day to make that happen.
Beautiful. All right, so going forward, you've shared some amazing stories of what you've done, what you've experienced, the different avenues that you followed, saying yes to almost everything. What do you have anything in particular coming up that you're excited about in your work?
I mean, we do oh my God, allergies. Every day is like an exercise in creative problem solving. So I never know what day is going to be that day that somebody calls me and is like, can you do this crazy thing? Right now we're in the middle of making a whole bunch of seed bombs to restock a seed bomb dispensing exhibit at a museum in Nebraska.
Oh, cool.
We made all the initial seed bombs to stock this this whole exhibit when it was built by a company in San Francisco, and they shipped it and installed it in the museum in Nebraska. And so the museum has actually just reordered seed bombs to fill it. So, you know, we're working on doing that now, but I know our plan is for that to be like a regular kind of consistent thing to make the seed bombs to stock this cool exhibit in Nebraska. So if anyone's out there and they're in Nebraska, you're near Omaha, you should go to the Cumet Luminarium and go check out the seed bomb dispensing gumball machine.
You know, I actually have a lot of friends near Omaha, and I'm going to tag them in everything about this so they can check this out. It sounds amazing.
So yeah, we're making lots of seed bombs right now. We've got a bunch of weddings coming up because it's wedding season. But really I have been focusing a lot of my kind of marketing efforts on getting more corporate clients, small business owners who want interesting swag and ways to connect with their clients and their employees and their customers, and things like that. So we've been doing a lot of that kind of stuff, doing table decor and plantable name tags for corporate events and things like that, and product packaging for other companies. And who knows what the next couple weeks will bring. But I'm playing a show with my band on June 10th at Milky's if anyone wants to come see me rock the hell out of a microphone.
All right, you got to send me links. There are multiple links here from things that you've talked about.
Oh, I'm
pictures, the Nebraska thing, the playing in the band.
I'm doing another event on this coming Saturday, and it's called Rhyme and Rhythm, where they've paired random musicians with random poets to perform a piece. And there's a bunch of groups of poets and musicians who have gotten together to do kind of a one-off performance kind of thing. So
where is that?
It is at a place called the Lavender Room, but the actual location is on the down low. So if anyone wants to go to that show, you can message me. It's a queer safe space, and they want to make sure that the address isn't public to make sure it stays safe for the people who are there.
Absolutely. Which leads me to, what is the best way to contact you? Because I imagine that a lot of people are going to want to. So what do you prefer?
The easiest way to find info about me and whatnot is papercraftmiracles.com. On our website, there's tons of info. You can buy stuff on there. If you want to book a custom order or a wedding or something like that, you can book appointments on our calendar. There's a green bar at the top of all the pages that takes you right to the calendar. And people can email me, message me on Instagram. I'm most active on Instagram, I think. But yeah, Instagram, Facebook, it's all at Papercraft Miracles. You'll find me. Just
Okay.
Google me.
Well, and
You'll find me.
I'll be sure to update the post and make sure it's in the show notes and everything, so that information is there. So as we're wrapping up, is there anything that, I feel like you've got so many great stories and so many great experiences, but I'm wondering, is there anything that you'd like to share today that I have not asked you about?
I think there's probably a fair number of other entrepreneurs who are moms who listen to your stuff. And that's definitely something that's really like a passion project for me, is encouraging moms to not give up the things that they love to 100% just be a mom all day long. Not that there's anything wrong with being a stay-at-home mom, but when you are the primary caregiver for children, single mom or otherwise, moms typically end up taking on that role. Doing all the mental labor for the household, making sure all the kids go to the doctor on the day they need to go to the doctor, being the person who gets called to pick them up from school when they're sick, being the person who gets called to pick them up from work when they're sick, being the person who gets called to pick them up from school when they're sick, being the person who gets called to pick them up from work when they're sick, being the person who gets called to pick them up from school when they're sick, being the person who gets called to pick them up from school when they're sick, being the person who gets called to pick them up from school when they're sick, being the person who gets called to pick them up from school when they're sick, being the person who gets called to pick them up from school when they're sick, being the person who gets called to pick them up from school when they're sick, being the person who gets called to pick them up from school when they're sick, being the person who gets called to pick them up from school when they're sick, being the person who gets called to pick them up from school when they're sick, being the person who gets called to pick them up from school when they're sick, being the person who gets called to pi staying up at night with them, all that kind of stuff. It's very exhausting, and don't give up, but also make sure that you ask for help. There's so many moms out there who feel like they are not enough if they're not perfect at work and perfect at being a mom, and their house isn't clean and the kids aren't eating fucking vegetables. Kids don't eat vegetables, okay? Every once in a while, maybe if you're lucky, but when you see people's Facebook and you see somebody's Instagram and they look like they have this whole perfect persona and everything is fucking awesome and whatever, it's not like that. If you turn the camera like a little bit like this, you will see the giant mountains of laundry. Like, you will see the person they've brought over to help clean their house next to them and things like that. So, I try to say this a lot, that nobody can do all of it. And women in general are, it used to be that women were expected to take care of the house and take care of the kids and, be the chauffeur and do that, and screw you if you want to have a passion or whatever, that's what you have to do, and you have to be perfect at it. And then we have this, feminist revolution that changed how women are viewed in society a little bit. But really it just added, you should also go to work all the time and also be amazing. And there's so much stigma about being a woman and being a mother and being a perfect mother. And, if you are a mother that goes to work, then like you're shirking your kids and you should be responsible for them all the time. But if you're a stay-at-home mom, then you also suck because you're not bringing any money and you're not financially contributing to your household. And, there's all these ways for women to be judged in every single aspect of our lives. And we have to remember every single day and be really intentional to not put that judgment on yourself, because you're going to get enough of it from everybody else, and not to put it on other people either. Because it's really difficult to like see somebody's page where everything looks perfect and to say, if my life doesn't look like that, then I fucked up. And nobody's life really looks like that. It just doesn't.
So true.
It doesn't. I pay someone to clean my house. Like it's the best money I ever spent in my life. You can't do it all. And there's a lot of balls that you have to juggle in general, being a human, being adult, whatever. But being a mother, especially a mother that's an entrepreneur, you've constantly got like a bazillion things up in the air at the same time. And the main thing to being successful is knowing which of those balls are plastic and which of them are glass. And I did not make up that quote. Somebody else did, and I don't know who it was.
It's a great analogy.
But, some of those things, you can let them fall to the wayside and you pick them up later. And some of those things are, your time is better spent doing something else. And, if the 25 minutes it takes you to do the dishes every day is the only 25 minutes that you also have to spend with your kids, pay somebody else to do it. Like, wait till tomorrow and hire someone to do your dishes. Or, I hate to be that person, but like, eat on paper plates.
Yeah. Or get Instacart to deliver the groceries.
Right. Or have that be time that you're teaching your kids how to do dishes, and you play in the sink water and you laugh and you make bubbles and find a way to do that. And, to have the times that you can't get back be things that are really intentional. And being a mom and an entrepreneur, like I have a lot of time that I've spent like hanging out with my kids, but also trying to work on my phone. And, they notice. And you have to kind of force yourself to put boundaries up when you are not working, and to not be working all the time. And I try to do as much of my like phone work, like posting on Instagram and whatnot. If you go on my Instagram and you look at what time do I post every day, between 10 and midnight every night. And I'm in my room, in my bed, in the dark, on my phone, and I post on there and I scroll and I like other people's things and I comment and I share a ton of stuff in my stories, and then I read some schlocky garbage romance and I go to sleep.
There you go.
So in every way you can, and ask for help, and take it when people offer it.
Absolutely. Janna, thank you so much. You are amazing. And I just feel like you have shared so many nuggets of value here. Thank you so much for being here and for sharing your story, your wisdom. And I also want to thank the people, the audience, regardless of the platform that you're on, whether you're here on the Facebook Live. Kathy and Laura, I think, have been here the whole time, and I've seen some other people pop in. But if you're on YouTube or watching the podcast, just thank you for being here and hopefully taking some of those nuggets of gold to heart and really putting them into play, really making the most of them. And I hope also that you'll join us for our next interview. It's on June 6th, live in the group with the wonderful Tiffany Pavelka. She is the owner of Red Cape Consulting, as we discuss the benefits of using an online business manager, right? Talking about, Janna, there are some things, if you can have someone take them on for you so that you can focus on what you love in your work and your genius work, all the better. So Tiffany is going to be discussing the benefits of using an online business manager. She happens to be mine. I don't know what I would do without her at this point. It seems like every month I add something else. So would love to have you there and watching that interview as well. So thanks all, Janna. Thanks again. It's such a pleasure having you here.
Anytime.
All right.